Hello students, welcome back to Tuition Masters YouTube channel, and today we are here with session 2 of our chapter Poverty as a Challenge. So today we are going to understand about the interstate disparities, causes of poverty and the anti-poverty measures with which we will complete with the chapter. So let's start with the interstate disparities. Now, poverty in India also has another aspect or dimension. In every state, this proportion of the poor people is not the same. From the early 70s, state level poverty has witnessed a secular decline. So, when we say about poverty in India, it has a different aspect from everywhere. Now, in every state, we cannot say that the proportion of poor people will remain the same throughout the country. No, it is different. And from the early 70s, this poverty level have witnessed a decline. A secular decline has been observed from the 1970s. The success rate. The success rate of reducing poverty varies from state to state. The All India Head Count ratio HCR was 21.9% in 2011-12. Now, the success rate of reducing poverty, how much the poverty is reduced, the rate of that, it is different, it is like varying from state to state. Now, the All India Head Count ratio, that is HCR, Head Count ratio. So, that was 22% approximately, 22% approximately, and specifically it was 21.9% in 2011-12. This was the all India head count ratio. Now, in states like Madhya Pradesh, Assam, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Odisha, and all of these had above all India poverty level. They are above the all India poverty level. Above that, these states were. Now, Bihar and Odisha, they continue to the poorest state with the poverty ratios. As now these two states, Bihar and Odisha, they are the two poorest states in India. Now, for Bihar, the poverty rate is, the ratio of poverty is 33.7%, and for Odisha on the same place is 37.6%. So these are the two poorest states of the country. Urban poverty is also high in Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, and Uttar Pradesh. Urban poverty means the people who are living in urban areas, alright, but still they are poor, as we had understood about Ram Sharan in our previous class. So, this kind of urban poverty is also high in Odisha, MP, Bihar, and UP. Now, there has been a significant decline in poverty in few places, which are Kerala, Jammu Kashmir, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, and West Bengal. There have been a very great decline in poverty, which is very good. How have they done this improvement? First point is of Punjab and Haryana. Punjab and Haryana, they have succeeded in reducing the poverty rate with the help of high agricultural growth rates. They increased the agriculture growth, due to which people could get opportunities. So with this, Punjab and Haryana reduced the poverty level. Second is Kerala. Kerala focused more and more on human resource development, HRD. They focus more on these things. So again, people got job opportunities and poverty level decreased. Third, third place is West Bengal. Here, land reform measures have helped in reducing the poverty. The land reform, the reforming the land, right? Like here, land reform, we are referring to like avoiding any intermediates to come in between, or anyone middle person coming and interrupting. that is land reform, that the land are owned by the own people only. So again, we know that poverty can even happen in landless people also. And now next is Andhra Pradesh. In Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, there have been public distribution of food grains is responsible for the improvement in the decline in poverty. So now they had done public distribution of food grains, so that as poor people cannot afford that much of money to spend, so that way they had done public distribution of the food grains. So, our next is the global poverty scenario. Now, poverty all over the globe. Now, the proportion of people which are in developing countries living in extreme economic poverty has fallen from 35% in 1990 to 10.68% in 2013. Now, this proportion of people in the developing countries, which we will see ahead, in the developing countries, there have been a very drastic change in the poverty. From 35%, they have directly fall towards 10.68%. 1990 to 2013, they have done this much of improvement. The World Bank defined poverty as living on less than $1.98 per day. That is poverty as defined by the World Bank. Now, the rapid economic growth and the massive investments in human resource development HRD, it has resulted in the decline of poverty in China and the Southeast Asian countries also. And some countries in Southeast Asian are like, you can say about Singapore. Singapore is a Singapore is a Southeast Asian country, along with Malaysia also. Malaysia. All of these are the places where the poverty level has declined, along with China also. Now the substantial reduction in global poverty is marked with great regional differences. Due to regional differences also, there have been a reduction in the global poverty. Now, the number of poor in China, it has come from 88.3% in 1981 to 14.7% in 2008. Such a good improvement. From 88.3%, they have directly come to 14.7%. China. Two, and this is not the end. In 2013, they came back to 1.9%. Now, in 2013, the poverty level is just 1.9%. That's very nice. Now, in countries of South Asia like India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bangladesh, and Bhutan, there also the decline have been a bit rapid. From 54% to 15%, their decline have been. Now, the number of poor have declined significantly from 44% in 1990 to 17% in 2013. Again, the other percentages. Now, because of such different poverty line definition, poverty in India is shown higher than the national estimates. The poverty in India is shown higher due to the differentiation of poverty lines as well. Now a graph. Let's understand about a graph where there is share of people who live on $1.90 a day, 1990 to 2013. Now why are we taking $1.90? Because that was the poverty, like the minimum amount as said by the Global World Bank. Now, in the here, if you see, before going towards that, I would like to show you that here, if you look carefully, yes, the World Bank have said that the poverty living on less than $1.90 per day. So that's why we are considering the same here. Now, in sub-Saharan Africa, the poverty has rose now. The poverty rose from 1990 to 2002. It has rose there. But in the long run, poverty has also decreased from 54% to 41% in 2013. So this was there. And in Latin America, the ratio of poverty has also declined. Latin America has also declined from what to what? It is declined from 16% to 5.4 percentage. So like all the countries are trying to decrease their poverty level. So here if you see here, China, Latin American, Caribbean, South Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, East Asian Pacific, all of these are the places where the poverty level increase, decrease, all of the things are mentioned. Now, poverty comparison among some selected countries. Now, here poverty also have rephrased in some of the former socialist countries like Russia. Poverty has also changed the condition there. Now, Russia is like a socialist country, but officially it was a non-existent earlier. It was non-existent earlier, but now poverty even reframed, resurfaced it. Now, this table which you can see over here, it basically shows the proportion of people who are living under the poverty in different countries as it is defined by the international poverty line. Below that, the like who are living, the percentages are given in this style, like for Nigeria, Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, China, Brazil, Indonesia, and Sri Lanka too. Now, the new sustainable development goals of the UN, United Nations, proposes that poverty of any type, whether it be poor people with children or even landless laborers, all of such kind of poverty will end by 2030. It is said by the United Nations according to their estimation. So, our next topic is the causes of poverty. Now, the first causes, now let's understand a historical reason is the low level of economic development under the British colonial administration. Under the British rule in India, when Britishers were doing, there was a very low economic development. So, due to that, also poverty is there. Now, the colonial policies had even ruined the traditional handicrafts, and it even discouraged the development of some textile industries. Now, when the Britishers were ruling, they had entirely banned that there won't be any handicraft, there won't be any Indian textile companies as well. Due to which, again, people had lost their job, no, nothing was there, no salary, no income, so again, poverty resulted. Now, this also resulted in less job opportunities, as I said, and the low growth of incomes. But in the same time, there was a high growth rate in population. There was a population explosion. There was a sudden increase in the population, right? So that's why, again, too much of population, but no, like not proper income to serve them, right? So that was again a cause. Similarly, this high rate of population growth, there was a high rate of population but low job opportunities. What happened? The capita income was very low. The per capita income became very low due to what? Due to nothing but overpopulation. So, due to overpopulation, the per capita income became very low. There was overpopulation but low job opportunities. Now, the failure to at economic growth and failure to control the population also, it perpetuated the cycle of poverty. It was the cycle of poverty was perpetuated due to this failure in the economic growth. Next cause was the irrigation and green revolution. It created many job opportunities in the agriculture sector. Many people thought that okay, there is now irrigation facilities are there, there is green revolution also. So there were many job opportunities. But again, the effects were only limited to some parts of India. Only in some parts of India these opportunity was available. Now, both in public and private sector, there were job opportunities provided. But the job opportunities wasn't for entire India, right? So these opportunities are not enough to absorb all the job seekers. Many of them wanted, but very few of them got, because even public private sector, they can't take everyone, right? So yes, all every it was not enough for all of the job seekers. Now, as the people couldn't find any proper job in cities, they started to work as rickshaw pullers, auto rickshaw pullers. They became vendors, hawkers. They became construction workers, domestic servants, and other such jobs they started to do. Now, the next cause is people who had irregular incomes, like who do some odd jobs. They had irregular income, so they could not afford expensive housing. They couldn't live in, like, nice buildings or some tower. No, they have irregular income, so they cannot afford this much. So where did they starting to? They started to live in the slums, in the outskirts of in the outskirts of the city. They started to live in the slums. Now, what happened? Now, poverty then became a feature of the urban sector. Now, urban sector, at the outskirts of the city, slums were located. So that was also considered in the urban area only. So poverty became a feature of it then. Now, another feature of high poverty rates have been a huge economic inequalities. The major reasons for this is the unequal distribution of land and other resources. Now, land and other resources, people usually capture it from the other people, resulting them being landless, right? Let's understand it more over here. Now, despite there were many policies, we have not been able to tackle the issue in a meaningful manner. Now, there were many different policies, but we couldn't handle those situations. And the lack of land, there was no land. Land resources have been one of the major causes of poverty in India, because the many people had their own lands, but the land was snatched from, like, the other people from government or other places, they used to snatch away this land, due to which the people go poor. Like, we have to understand the landless laborers. What do we mean by landless laborers? So, the major policy initiatives like the land reforms had aimed the redistribution of the assets in rural areas. The people whose lands were taken, so with this land reforms, which are even done in Kerala, so there these lands could be given back. Now, the proper implementation of such kind of policies could have improved the life of many different people, poor people who were living in rural sectors. So these were the few causes of poverty. Next is the last content of the chapter, which is the anti-poverty measures. Now, the removal of poverty, it has been one of the major and objective of the Indian development strategy. It has been one of the biggest objective and a challenge also to remove poverty. Now, the current anti-poverty strategies of the government is based on two planks. What are those two planks? It is, first is the promotion of economic growth, promoting economic growth, and targeted anti-poverty programs also. We're doing some anti-poverty programs which we will see ahead. Now, during that time, there was a very little per capita growth and poverty reduction up to 1980s. Now, the growth rate, it had jumped from 3.5% a year. Okay, from 3.5% it had jumped to 6% directly. So the growth rate had jumped over. Now, the growth rates have helped significantly in the reduction of poverty. If the economic growth rates are high, so poverty will go. And there is even a very good and strong link between economic growth and poverty reduction. If economic goes up, poverty will go down. Similarly, economic growth, it widens opportunities and provides the resources needed to invest in human development. For human development, the resource required, it will be available with other job opportunities only when there is a good economic growth. Also, it encourages people to send their children, including girl children, also to schools, colleges, and educational institutions, so that they get a better income return. So, for income returns, for hope of getting better income returns, people will even get motivated to send their children to schools as well. Now, however, the disadvantage is that the poor may not be able to take direct advantage from the opportunities created by economic growth. There could be many reasons. First is that awareness, they are not that much aware, right? So they couldn't be able to directly take such advantages. Now, the growth in agriculture sector is much below the expectations. What do we expect below the agriculture sector? The growth in that is very much below. There has been a direct bearing on poverty, as a large number of poor people live in villages only. Mostly the poor people are in villages and they depend on agriculture. But if sometimes the land is taken, all of these issues are there. Now, there is a clear need for a targeted anti-poverty program. There should be an anti-poverty program. Now, we are going to understand few. Now, our first one is the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act 2005. So let's see what was this act about. So it aims that, well, we provide 100 days of wage employment to every household so that there is a livelihood security in the rural areas. This act ensures that the 100 days of wage, that employment is given to each and every household in the rural areas, so they get a security for their livelihood. Second is, it also have aimed at a sustainable development, so that to address the cause of drought, deforestation and soil erosion. Now, due to drought, deforestation, soil erosion, the poor people suffer the more. So that's why it even, this act even aims on the sustainable development. Now, one third of the proposed jobs have even reserved for women also. One third of the jobs provided one third of them are even reserved for the women's also, so that they also get equal opportunities. Now, the share of scheduled castes and scheduled tribes and even women. The person days in the scheme are 23% for scheduled caste, then 17% for scheduled tribes, and 53% for women. So you can understand that the schemes, out of which for we understood that from scheduled caste it is 23%, for tribes it is 17%, and even for women it is 53, it is 53 percentage. Now this scheme provided employment to 220 crore persons people, days of employment to 4.78 crore households. So 220 crores person days of employment has been given to 4.78 crore houses, which is a good improvement. Next is the Prime Minister Rozgar Yojana and the Rural Employment Generation Program. So, what was this Prime Minister Rozgar Yojana, PMRY? It was started in 1993. What was its aim? Its aim was to create self employment opportunities for the unemployed youth in rural areas and in other small towns. The youth, the young people who are unemployed and they're talented, so they get equal opportunities, self employment opportunities. This Prime Minister Rozgar Yojana was launched. Similarly, the Rural Employment Generation Program, REGP, it was launched in 1995 with the same aim to create self-employment opportunities in rural areas and small towns. But this was not specifically for unemployed youth, it was for everyone. Now, a target for creating 25 lakhs new jobs, it has been set for the program under the 10th 5-year plan. Under this, it has been said that there will be 25 lakh new job opportunities under this program. Now, the next scheme which we are learning is the Swarna Jayanti Gram Swarozgar Yojana. Now, this Swarna Jayanti Gram Swarozgar Yojana, SGSY, it was launched in 1999 All right, with this program, it aims that it is the bringing upbringing of the assisted poor families above the poverty line, the who are poor but still they're like a little bit above the poverty line. How they organize different self-help groups through the mix of bank credit and the government subsidy also. Through them there is like self-help group so that the people can help the poor families also. Now, the similar one more scheme was the Pradhan Mantri Gramodaya Yojana (PMGY), which was launched in 2000. Under this, there were some additional assistance given to the states for basic of public facilities like the primary health, primary education, rural shelter, then rural drinking water, rural electrification. All of these were the basic public. Basically, under this Pradhan Mantri Gramodaya Yojana, there was an insurance of the public facilities. The basic public facilities should be provided to them as well. Now, there are few more challenges ahead. Like poverty in India, it has certainly declined. Although it is slow rate, but yes, it is declined. Now, despite the progress, poverty reduction remains India's most compelling challenge. It is a very big challenge to reduce poverty, how much ever we can do. Now, between the urban and rural areas, cities and villages, still there is a wide disparity in poverty. It is clearly even visible to us. Even certain social and economic groups are even vulnerable to poverty. Vulnerable groups which we had studied in our last session. And this poverty reduction is expected to become better in better progress in the coming years, so that this poverty reduction rate goes very down, right? So that the poverty level is very down, so it is expected in the coming years. Now, how is this poverty reduction possible? With high income growth. If there is a high income growth, poverty reduction would easily go down. Universal free elementary education. There should be free elementary education for the poor children who cannot afford to go to school. There should be declining population growth as well, so that their equal resources are provided for everyone. There should be empowerment of the economically weaker sections, all right, and there should be even empowerment of women also, and even the other weaker sections too. Now, what could be an official definition of poverty? The official definition of poverty just captures only a limited part of what poverty is really meaning to other people, what it really means to the people. That is the official definition of poverty. It is all about a minimum subsistence level of living rather than a reasonable level of living. The people think that it is a minimum substances level, but it should be a rather than it should be reasonable level of living. And many scholars also advocate and support that we must broaden the concept into human poverty. What is it exactly? We should understand it clear and better. So, what is the conclusion with this? Eradication of poverty is always a moving target. Every time we will always try to eradicate, decrease poverty in all the countries. Hopefully we will be able to provide the minimum necessary things in terms of only income to all people by the end of the next decade. By the end of the decade, we hope that mostly everyone should get a minimum necessary income, and the target will move on for many more other bigger challenges as well, which are there right now also, like the providing healthcare, education, job security, achieving gender equality, dignity for the poor, scheduled tribes, and other people also. So, thank you so much everyone for watching today's video, and we have completed with the chapter Poverty as a Challenge. I hope it was informative. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll be seeing you in the next video where we are going to start with our electoral politics. Till then, goodbye.